Okay, let's pick up old Lantry.
So, your latest acquisition has me thinking about the spires some more. By all accounts, they go as far back as the old walls. Over the centuries, the nobles of the tiers have claimed the spires, but they've only ever battled over the land at the ground level of the monuments. I've never seen the glyphs of a spire light up in all my years. Not until you show up. If this were an isolated incident, I'd be confused. But it seems the spires, plural, are somehow connected to you. What's your secret?
Perhaps Tunon or one of the Archons did something to me. I've studied at Tunon's feet, proclaimed edicts, broken them too. I'm sure I've been exposed to all sorts of arcane powers. A long sigh escapes Lantry, and he sticks his quill in his mouth, chewing on the tip. His head tilts from one side to the other, muttering incoherent half-words. I always want to know. Tell me what you're thinking. The old man loves us, so we'll be nice to him.
If I had the words for it, I'd share. I'm just not sure what to make of it. I'm realizing how much more there is to learn.
Let's get going.
At your service. I will, I can...
Oh, he's drunk. We will ditch...
We'll wait.
Shadow.
For
We'll
a
take
short
her.
while.
There's a place she's relevant to later. We'll take her. It'll be fun to switch out party members and take out the relevant people. Take the relevant people. So Lantry, we need him to memorize all these spell accents, sigils that we found, so he can make new spells, so he's not totally fucking useless. We should get Lantry some training too. Let's see if we have a trainer at the other place maybe that can do lore. No lore trainer. Yep, we probably have to fucking have the library to train lore, huh? That's actually kind of fucking annoying, because he needs it. Dang. Oh well, we'll go ahead and get him trained with... So control vigor is like buffs, control life is healing, and maybe other stuff. We'll go ahead and do vigor. Let me examine what spells we actually want. His lore skill is 64. Okay, this will be interesting to watch if you don't know how to, if you've never done this. So you have to, oh, wait. We gotta make sure we've done all our sigils first. Is that all we have? Here we go. That's all we can do for now. So... First, you choose your core, so sigil, which sigil it is, so like, oh boy. I probably need to spend money to buy more. Control illusions, so I only have, I see. I only have force and... illusion right now. Let's see if I can make a really nasty force spell. He probably can't cast it though, but we'll see. Yeah, we just don't have much in the way of actual, like, spell shit for him. Honestly, he's kind of just... Yeah, we don't even have the Sigil of Life, and I'm not going to just look up everything, how to find it. Maybe we can buy that?
Will do.
Probably once again, that's at the trainer we don't have. At the, once we get the next spire, we can have a, someone that sells all kinds of magical shit. Yep. That's fine. Lantry will be fine for now, I suppose. I do want to train him.
Of course.
So Lantry's good with control vigor and control life, so...
On it.
Verse could use some training.
I got it.
We'll get to know each of our companions as we take them to the place that they're known for. The Burning Library entrance. The sages of the Vellum Citadel publicly swore fealty to Kairos, but from within the safety of their Vellum Citadel, these scholars continue to study and copy forbidden lore, and use magic to repulse any attempts by the disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus to claim the Citadel that was promised to the Overlord. In retribution, Kairos pronounced an edict of fire on the Vellum Citadel, turning the home of the School of Ink and Quill into a smoldering ruin, now known as the Burning Library. Maybe we'll find some cool shit here. Probably find some cool magic shit here. Let's get to know Lage. Oh, Verse has something to say. Our gang is building quite the little collection of spires, aren't we? The Voices in Arat was never one for keeping strongholds, but I can definitely see the appeal. Why doesn't the Voices like strongholds? Because there's no point in standing still. The Voices prefers to keep his forces busy and on the move, with only restful hours between dusk and dawn. Besides, fighters in motion are less likely to rise up and challenge authority. Safety in numbers. But once you get people hunkering down to discuss their problems, suddenly everyone has a reason to kill the closest gang boss. What do you think of the spires? They're big, but make no mistake, a determined army could knock one down if they have enough shovels and picks. Don't be so quick to assume you're invincible. As to what they are, I try not to ask that question.
What do you need?
To Barrick and Verse, have either of you noticed that I'd like to discuss your connection with Barrick.
You've just got to know, don't you? I suppose there's no point in hiding it. Barrick and I are siblings, and we share a father, if little else.
Small world.
I try not to think too much about some northern merchant dropping anchor in my mother's port, but it happened, and the fortunate result stands proudly before you.
How did you two become aware of this?
There were a lot of lazy days during the conquest, and among other things, I spent my off hours using messenger birds as target practice. You should have seen Ash's anger when he heard that was going on. One day, I snagged a bird that flew from the hands of a proud northern daddy. The missive was about the goings-on at the family farm. I recognized the name and handwriting from a note in my mother's belongings.
That's a little coincidental.
There weren't too many people named Barrick in the army, so tracking him down was no challenge. I cornered him in camp, and we shared a few heated words. Some blackmail, even.
She tried to extort rings from me, and I was having none of it. Not even Graven Ash would think less of me for our father's indiscretion.
I like your confidence, but my ring belt is feeling a little light these days. Maybe you want to take me up on that offer, or I can start whispering in disfavored ears.
You you two
Think
even
about
like
it.
each other?
I've tried to get along with that ironclad knot of repression, but it would seem he's having none of it. Good riddance, then. The war's tossed us together, but nothing says we have to keep that going. The most we do for each other is try not to get the other one killed, which is more than you can say for most disfavored in Scarlet Chorus.
How has this affected you, Barrick?
Well, Verse has a nasty habit of jabbering in my ear and making this war intolerable. I plan on parting ways and returning to the north at first convenience. My father will answer for his infidelity. Beyond that, I am happy to consider myself in every way unaffected. My superiors once accused me of having an impulsive streak, but I have worked to suppress it at every turn.
When you go back home, send Father my fondest greetings and thanks. If he hadn't gone to ground on my mother's dry dock, I might not be here today.
My heritage was a point of pride and distinction before I met you, Verse. Not that you would care.
Have you noticed any significant impact on this verse?
I've asked myself about that several times, but unfortunately I don't have what you'd call a definitive answer. The Northerners put a lot of meaning behind family and blood. Seems arbitrary to me, but I don't want to discredit it entirely. I told you about what happened to my Scarlet Fury sisters. The hesitation I experienced. Sometimes I wonder if that wasn't because of my connection to Barrick. He's stubborn, regimented. Everything I'm not.
The woman of which is chaos and the man which is order.
I suppose there's no telling for sure, but if I had to guess... Yeah. Sometimes I get messed up in my head, and learning I had a brother has helped me understand that better. What do you need?
To both of them, have either of you noticed that you fight particularly well together?
The thought has crossed my mind from time to time. During the many battles of the Conquest, we found ourselves standing back to back with enemies on all sides on more than one occasion.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's nice having a living wall of rusted iron I can use for cover.
Do you think this is because of your shared heritage?
If you want to attach some arcane meaning to the whole thing, be my guest. I couldn't tell you for sure. I doubt that a capable tactician could explain why certain soldiers learn to rely on each other.
In the disfavored ranks, the Oathbound seem to know more about synchronizing their efforts, and the same could be argued for the Scarlet Furies. I don't know how they pair up their units, but it isn't by virtue of blood.
How do you think this is possible?
I would suggest that our fighting styles complement each other, but they do not. I would suggest that we get along, but we do not. We don't even finish each other's
Sentences? Okay, that was strange. Did you hear that? The next time I catch a whiff of Barrick's meaning, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
I want you two to train together.
Absolutely not. Our fighting styles are incompatible, and any disfavored lieutenant will tell you not to join at the hip soldiers who can't stomach each other.
I'm inclined to agree. If you want to pair up fighters, there has to be some great passion or magnetism between them. We don't have it.
Subterfuge, bluff. If neither of you is up to the challenge, then I won't force it.
Now see here, Verse's temperament and unpredictable ways are an annoyance, but no challenge is beyond my skill. Verse, we should take some time to face off in the sparring fields. It might even improve our disposition towards one another.
I'd rather watch you devour your armor one shaved off spoonful at a time. But since that isn't going to happen anytime soon, I suppose I'll make an effort.
Nice. I don't know what that is going to do, but...
My Lord Binder, you have something which requires my... What can I do for you? The thought
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx.
I would suggest...
Sentences.
Just making sure
My
there's
Lord
nothing
Binder,
else to say.
what can I do for you?
Okay, before we go... Oh, they gained a new combo ability. Arrow Storm. What is this? Damn it. It's, Verse has a lot of bow-focused shit. Maybe I should give her a bow. got another letter. You insufferable response to us telling that guy to fuck off. You insufferable upstart. How dare you take my sermons on citicism to heart? I expect you stupid youngsters to ignore me, not actually listen to my wisdom. You're threatening the whole social order of things. Perhaps it's best you say little to me on these matters. Better you speak with the Honorable Fatebinder Myothis, though I suppose Binder Emeritus is a more apt title, as she's free of official duties and idles her days in an estate up north, far from the war, far from watchful eyes. I am one of the few whom she will speak. With my blessing, and if you stop your attitude, she might share what she knows with you. On the reverse of this parchment, you will find instructions to contact her. I encourage you to open up about the edict and your experience in the Spire. There is much you need to learn. Okay, well, it doesn't give me an option to send anything, so.
On it.
Oh, wait. Let's talk to Lantry. We have never really... Oh, we have a letter now again. Okay, quill in hand. This is a letter we can send. Quill in hand, loom over a blank sheet of parchment. You have Binder Myothis' contact info in hand and contemplate your opening words. I do not want to send her 500 fucking rings. A brash introduction. My name is Siren, and I recently resolved Kairos' Edict of Execution. I claim the Mountain Spire of the Tears. I am now master of Vendrian's Well, and a question mark to many. As it seems awakening the spire has shocked everyone. Rogala said you were wise and knowledgeable in matters best not discussed in front of the Archons. I seem to have stumbled into ownership of the Spire, and I feel I should learn all that I can about this momentum that is now my own. If you will be forthcoming with your knowledge, I promise you will be rewarded when the time comes to show gratitude to the loyal. Oh, that's very cocky. Let's see if she likes that. Anyway, now we talk to Lantry.
At your service.
I have some questions.
I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss?
I want to know more about you.
Me? Well, fine, but it's not a very fascinating subject. I study interesting people, enough to know that I'm not one of them.
What story? What's your story? Tell me the origins of Lantry.
Someday, someone half your age will ask you to sum up your life, and you'll realize what an odious request that is. Well, where do I start? I grew up in Sunda. I was born right after independence from the realm of Star Wars. So yeah, do the math and you'll realize I'm old. My parents were harbor hands. My mother never returned from a voyage, and my father lost his hand to infection and decided to sell me to the School of Ink and Quills.
How much were you worth? Oh, that's fucked up.
3 bronze rings, or so I remember it. Not that the sum burned into my mind or anything. As a novice, I was assigned to the Dovecotes, where I learned how to raise and groom birds to carry missives, and most of my early tomes are on that subject. 10 years and several tomes later, someone decided I was ready to be welcomed into the inner circle and shown the ways of magic. And since then, I've spent a great deal of time in field study, which I suppose readied me for life after the fall of the Vellum Citadel. Well, as much as anything could ready one for such strangers of these days.
Were you born Lantry, or did you take that name on joining the School of Ink and Quill?
Most sages take a new name when they join the school, but for me, the transition was difficult at first. I stuck to my old commoner name, and then just never got around to picking some highfalutin sage name like a Fossis or a dangling participle.
Is this your true skein? Have you always wanted to be a sage?
I cannot imagine doing anything different. I suppose in my youngest days I yearned for battle and glory like most boys. Having now seen how short a soldier's life can be, I'd look back on that old calling, that old mindset, and laugh.
So really, what's your story, bro?
What do you mean?
Oh, that's cool. Because of a conquest decision, we both know you were part of the Corps of Spies in the Citadel. What's your real story?
And I might have lingered in a disfavored cell had you not had us all released in a rot. I know you didn't intend to help me directly, but I am grateful all the same. The Vellum Citadel was supposed to flip to Kairos without a drop of blood. For a bunch of well-read scholars, you'd think they have learned the only true lesson of history. Kairos is inevitable. Most people think the war began years ago, but the voice of the Nerat had his hands in things sooner than that. I was part of that early invasion, an eager kid happy to accept a 30-year assignment that comes with an education.
Did Nerat have you captured for failing to convince the sages to surrender?
The Archon of Secrets didn't even remember me. I guess, I looked at some thug the wrong way and got jumped. My imprisonment isn't anything more interesting than that.
Thank you for telling me. No more secrets, understood?
I will endeavor to earn your trust as best I can. Sorry to have given you reason for doubt.
What else aren't you telling me, though?
You read the Edict of Fire. You were the messenger of Kairos' judgment on my work. It was about then that I decided I'd need to take an interest in your skein. In truth, I am deeply curious about any who have lived as vessels to Kairos' most supreme magic. When I heard you were proclaiming a second edict, I had to find a way for us to meet. Being tied up a prisoner in the camp was not an intended plan.
So, you advocating surrender to Kairos was the end of your long plan?
Yes and no. When I first left, I was just happy to be getting educated by the sages on someone else's rings, and my orders were simply to listen and report. As the time drew near, my commands were to win them over, a little at a time, to the notion of surrender. But I failed. The elders of the school grew defiant, and the militant minds went out. These are tearsmen, after all. I didn't deliver the surrender, and it took the Overlord's edict to end what I was sent to do.
How do you feel about Kairos?
Loyalty 1. How can I not help but find him to be the most captivating person alive? The man has bent empires, claimed continents. Where he goes, history follows. I won't deny he has killed millions, at least, but I contend more would have died in petty wars across Tyranny in the void of him. I've seen what tiny despots, merchant cabals, and mage guilds can inflict in the name of all sorts of causes. I will take the rule of Kairos over the tyranny of every idiot on Tyranny.
I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss?
I'd like to discuss arcane matters.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
What do you know of Kairos' edicts?
Kairos has cast many over the ages, and to my knowledge he has never worded two edicts exactly the same. Edicts defy our understanding of magic. Kairos' magic works over vast distances, over indefinite durations, and no archon or mere mage can counter the force of an edict.
Okay, what can you say of the edicts in general?
I explain it to my students like this. A spell is to an edict as a drop of rain to a hurricane. Edicts and spells are both magical cantrips, but differ in intensity by orders of magnitude. Edicts are almost commands to Tyranny that must be carried out until the instructions allow for the magic to end. If Kairos wants a plague until next Judge's Day, expect copious buboes until next Judge's Day. Nothing is ever dispelled in edict, nothing outside of the edict's own sunset clause, as I like to think of them.
Curious about a specific edict. Any thoughts of the Edict of Execution cast on Vendrian's Valley?
It seems like the Archons were about to kill each other, and the threat of mutual destruction was all Kairos had left. I imagine fear is the only way to get someone like the Voices of Nerat to follow orders, and this edict certainly did whip them into action.
What about the Edict of Stone?
The Edict of Stone ravaged the realm of Azure. The upheaval of earth and rock turned the rolling plains into a craggy steppe known as the Stone Sea. Since the edict was directed at the traitorous Archon of Stone, it would seem the upheaval of Azure was a secondary consequence, though I imagine little of what Kairos does is unintentional.
What about the Edict of Fire, the place we're going to right now?
I know that you warned us. I am alive today because of you. You, as are so many of my brothers and sisters. I am most certain you were not ordered to warn us, so all the more reason to honor your decision.
Given the destruction involved, warning seemed the humane thing to do.
A most noble sentiment. The The edict had its intended effect. It crushed the will of the school and scattered the sages to the wind. I'm glad it brought an end to the conflict, and thanks to your warning, without any more loss of life.
Edict of Storms?
The Edict of Storms turned the once forested lands of Starwood into a windswept wasteland. They called it the Blade Grave now, since only the iron and bronze of armaments remain. Hurricane breezes, rust winds, and relentless lightning have destroyed the housing and farmlands.
Do edicts work on the same arcane principles as spellcraft and other magic?
Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn. Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little. Or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter.
Fine, I'll take your bait. What's your conjecture about edicts?
So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense. Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time.
Perhaps edicts have a life of their own once set in motion?
Something to that effect, at least. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit.
Yeah, the belief itself. Rule by fear certainly is Kairos' way.
Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
What do you know of the magic of the Archons?
I've studied many of the Archons for many years. Compared to other sages, I am an expert on the subject, which is sad because I feel like I've still so much to learn.
How does the magic of the Archons work?
The Archons all have magical powers that are intuitive. When the voices in a rot pulls out someone's mind, or Graven Ash protects his soldiers, that magic isn't a sign, spell, or ritual to them. It's closer to flexing their hand. Archons are the, what's the word for it? Axiom of magic, the root of magic, spell pioneers?
This is lore. While every guild or school of magic will ascribe different name to the theory, all mages inevitably stumble upon an inescapable fact. Only the Archons can will magic into being. Everyone else can only cast magic by invoking a sigil of an Archon that has come before. None know how the Archons do their magic. It seems to be different with each Archon, but theory suggests that once an Archon starts to invoke their powers, anyone else who comes after that Archon could, with proper knowledge, tap into that power with the proper sigil and know-how. The observed law has given rise to a common question from young students. Could one guess at a sigil of an Archon not yet born, or not remembered by history, or simply unknown to the caster, and successfully cast a spell? Experienced mystics would tell you this is impossible, for they know that it's not enough to just mimic the gestures of a sigil. One must have willful, conscious knowledge of the Archon and the intended power being channeled.
I'm sure this analogy is off many ways, but I see Archons as the mothers of original magic, and everyone else is just imitating them. To confuse things a bit, some Archons learn to cast other spells in the same fashion as us lesser mages. If you are as important as an Archon, you learn quick that all knowledge is power. I've studied many of the Archons for many years.
Yeah, okay, we know. Are all Archons loyal to Kairos?
Officially, yes. In actuality, no. Those with the true gift for magic always come to the attention of Kairos. Few manage to evade attention for a bit. The School of Tides was founded by one such uncontrollable, but these are history's exceptions. When we write biographies of the Archons, we often refer to them as exarchs in their former years before stepping into their prime. But officially, Kairos is supposed to grant all titles of Archon. It's quite the faux pas to self-appellate.
How is an Archon born or bred?
I think we all dream of one day waking up and being an Archon. Given some of the madmen and loons that have exhibited mystical greatness, it can seem unfair that the rest of us can't do it. I can say with confidence Archons are not born, they become. Raven Ash is a good study of this. Before he was the Archon of War, he was a successful commander, each victory more daring and glorious than the next. Somewhere along the way, his leadership took on mystical qualities. Raven Ash we know today could reach out and protect his soldiers from harm, but maybe at first he could just protect those near him. I wouldn't know for certain, but all will attest that he didn't have this power his whole life.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
What do you know of spellcraft?
I've forgotten more than most blood chanters have ever learned.
Oh god, this one fucking dude that worked at a gas station who supposedly had an engineering degree said, I've forgotten more math than you've ever known. It's like, okay dude, then why are you here?
What do you want to know?
Can you teach me anything?
Most certainly. I probably should have shown you how to mend wounds sooner. If you have a moment, I can show you the healing sigil I was trained to use.
Yep. Rummaging through his satchels, the sage produces a long quill and a crumpled piece of parchment. With 7 strokes of the quill, he inks a pattern on the page. We'll start with the first principles. When mending wounds and easing pain, we invoke the magic of the Orphan Midwife, Archon of Rebirth. By invoking her sigil, we channel her mastery, however briefly, through our hands. Now trace the sigil, following the lines. Do it. Since this isn't your first cantrip, I'll move a little quickly. I think you can keep up. And so, if you need to heal a pain as opposed to purge an infection, you'd move your hand like so. But you know, that's enough for now, and I think the rest you can figure out on your own. Oh, I was hoping he'd actually teach me the sigil so I can make those spells. What sort of magic did the sages teach you? Sage Syndrin tutored me in the traditional sigils, those of preservation, concealment, and healing, as derived from the bygone Archon of Theravis, Fading Wraith, and the Orphan Midwife. The preservation magic is largely functional, sealing parchments, binding books, that sort of thing. All of us chroniclers learn concealment magic, as our ideal method would be to study events without contaminating the decisions being made. As for the healing magic, many of us modern sages study this a great deal. The school has a shoddy reputation among the common folk. I figure if they knew us as healers and caregivers, maybe we could start to change opinions. Healing, no, that is a noble craft. True, but given how accident-prone it is, I think a person that benefits most from my magic is me. But certainly the most gratifying spells I know are the ones that ease pain and suffering. They make me feel useful. What can you tell me about signing magic? Scholars don't have a good word for what the Archons do when they cast magic. Couldn't tell you how Raven Ash casts his protection over his soldiers, nor would I know how Bled and Mark consciously decides to move through the shadow. But when us mere mages want to cast a spell, we do so by signing a sigil of an Archon that has previously discovered the magical phenomenon in question. It is debated whether Archons create new magic or just discover magic that was waiting for us, but such questions seem impossible to answer while sober.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
What do you know of the old walls?
Familiar is a relative term. I think and I'd be
Alright, we'll
happy
finish
to
this later. We'll ask him the rest. Did we get the Sigil of Life from him? We did! Alright, so I can actually make a spell that affects single targets, a spell that affects distant targets. Release tiny bolts of healing energy that restore a large amount of health to the target. And increase the spell's strength. Reduces the cooldown. Accent that causes distant impact spells to travel through their targets in a piercing line. I don't know if it's good, but oh shit, lore required 110. Yeah, we can't fuck with that. Damn it, we need that trainer to give Lantry lore. Yep, Lantry needs better lore to really utilize that shit.
Sorry, I can't. Interesting.
That's why it's
Can't do
usually
that.
good to have your main character play as a mage, because then you can really get OP. Corpses of sages are skewered on these spikes. Their skin has been blackened by the heat of the magma.
Can't do that.
The soldier walking past catches a glimpse of you and immediately points her spear towards you. The censor will be very interested in your presence, Fatebinder. She's near the entrance. Go now. Fine. I doubt this is gonna end up in any way but a fucking fight.
Can't do that.
Oh, Lantry has some skill points. Oh, we can actually use, damn. We can actually go down the middle skill tree, and Lantry will have, more lore.
Right.
I'm gonna go down the middle last, because that's the entrance. A twisted man leans over two forms on the ground. One a robed figure covered in bruises, the other a soldier horribly burned, lying motionless to the side. The man grunts at you with obvious displeasure. If it isn't the betrayer herself, if you want anything here, you need to meet with the censor. She's to the east by the ruins entrance. You should go now. Very well. Pretty sure this is gonna end in a fight, no matter what. This might be a bad... If this fight's too tough, we'll just start the fight over there, but... We'll go ahead and talk to her so we know hear what she has to say, at least. Yeah, this is probably gonna be tough if I start the fight here.
Sorry, I can't.
Stay your weapons. This is Tunon's Fatebinder. And what a complicated pleasure it is to find you in my camp. Now, what would the wild dog, she doesn't seem happy that you betrayed them, want with my library? It wasn't enough to turn your back on your master and piss on everyone who put you where you were? Are you here to try to take this away too? The only reason I've instructed my soldiers to show restraint is because of the sensitive operation ongoing in the ruins, one that I don't intend to disturb. The players in this little game have enough to keep themselves occupied. With that said, I wouldn't hesitate to kill you if you proved it necessary, so why don't you tell me what you're doing here and we'll see how it goes. Athletics 43. If you don't want to see your blood decorating this camp, I suggest you let me in. Blood Changer glances nervously around his comrades, wiping his sweat-filled brow. He backs away slowly before breaking into a run. You're quite the aggressor, aren't you? That might intimidate one of these weak-kneed shits, but I've been in the game far too long. Let me give you another option. You can lay down your arms and surrender. I don't have time for this. There's a time and a place for bloodlust, and sadly, I've got an operation to oversee. We're under attack. Kill him. Kill her. Throw yourselves at her if you must.
On your knees!
God damn it, Lantry. You are squishy as they come, buddy.
Gentlemen, face my eye!
Sorry. I can't. Can't do that. I'm injured.
You won't get away!
Right. Don't you die on me.
It's like fucking bugged or what?
You got it. No dice.
Oh, she's like...
You got it.
Aye.
I am a shield wall unto myself!
Oh shit, she exploded.
Send me your champion!
Not too bad when it's 4-on-1. The passageway has been blocked by a magical field. It's not clear how to get rid of it.
To battle! Can't do that.
Famed.
Put me out before I go out like a torch.
Kill him.
Good work.
Did I always have this much blood?
My armor is dented. Let me repair it. Smash to pieces!
Wake me up when it's over.
A lot of replay value because
Are you afraid of
if you
death?
play with the Scarlet Forest, I'm sure these people would have a quest or some shit. I did play a Scarlet Chorus long ago, but I don't remember everything.
Can't do that. Can't do that. Sorry, I can't. Heads up, we have company. Sorry about that.
Tear your skeleton out by your ass.
Let's see what falls out of you.
Nothing stands in our way.
Shall we? Still got it!
Oh wow, that's one thing Lantry's good with. He quickly heals the Fate Binder and nearby party members. Yeah, that's fucking really nice. Kill the fucking mage. You know, the rule is old as time in RPGs. Kill the motherfucking mage. Oh, I'm about to get wrecked.
Pull yourself together.
Apologies.
Bleed out, you little shit.
What did we just find? Scarlet Chorus report. The edges of the report appear to be burnt. The words faded. Through the barely legible scribbles, you can make out the names of various tools of torture and the people on which they were applied. Besides, each entry is a span and a year. You notice further up the names sound more northern, and the years far precede the conquest of the Tears.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's like a long-term history of that cocksucker.
Sorry,
The
I
shelf
can't.
is well separated from the surrounding area and looks quite perilous to scale. Strange rocky protrusions can be seen along the top, likely magical in nature. Okay, so I can't get there through here, I suppose. Folant. The sage has clearly suffered at the hands of his captors. Burn marks cover his legs and his shoulders slump unnaturally. He looks at you in stunned disbelief. Thank you. I can't believe those blackguards are finally dead. May they rot. Well, farewell. Thank you again. I'll take my leave, but tread carefully. The chorus are crazy and disorganized, but that's part of their strength. Don't let them get the drop on you. He just died frozen in mid-walk. Alright, we're gonna call it here and we'll venture into the library next time.